So to start us off this time, we have Netto being a jerk about the whole Enzon having a synchro chip thing, revealing that Enzon's test with the system actually went very well, since it's only been recently that Yuichiro could get good data on it after his lab finished being rebuilt, and the synchronicity between Enzon and Blues being higher than that between Netto and Rockman, for a variety of reasons. As I've gotten into before, Enzon and Blues' connection as operator and Navi takes on the form of a master and servant relationship due to how Enzon's own upbringing instilled that onto him. Thus, it's Blues falling in line to sync with Enzon, and it not taking the form of a true cooperative pairing. Thus, it's kind of the Sixth Ranger effect, where they start off with this higher starting power tier, but because of that have less room to grow and improve. What this series has been trying, and depending on who's writing any given episode, failing to showcase is how Netto, as a flawed person, has more room to grow and improve, and as the protagonist, more avenues by which to do so. In the good episodes of this series, we see that as Netto takes on a new responsibility and broadens his horizons. Enzon, by comparison, dude already has a lot on his plate and has been in the thick of things in his own way. But beyond him appearing to be strong, we don't really get why he got singled out for the Net Saver job in this version of events, since he was already the vice president of his dad's business. Yes, making him a Net Saver brings him in line with his video game counterpart where he's already this genius net battler that's been deputized as an official net battler for the game's version of the Net Police. But this isn't actually cohesively connected to that. It took Netto saving people's lives using cross-fusion to be brought in and earn the badge. What did Enzon do to earn his in turn? But yeah, this is part of that pop the ego bubble the last episode failed at. Since now, Netto's not special. The rival he's already worked hard to beat has seemingly surpassed him again, after the last time he came in to help, where the two seemed on better terms. To say nothing about them being friendly rivals last season, with things defaulting to the two acting like jerks to one another once again. And Netto is just petty here with how he refuses to accept that reality after he was getting out of place arrogant last episode. But unfortunately it goes from bad to worse, as this is one of the returning episodes for Yaito Ayano Koji, with the series explaining that, like Takao, she got shipped off to another country. In her case, she and her father moved for the time being to Kingland so he could oversee another division of his company, causing her to be able to live out a princess fantasy as, well, her dad's game company has been working on an otome game, which she's advertising for them. And some men, no judgment here. All routes lead to doom. This is where Yaito, having hacked her friends' email addresses to pretend to be them, gets them to buy for her a bunch of Japanese exclusive items she can't get in Kingland. It is called Import Middleman Services. She's rich. She can afford next day delivery. White Rabbit, Mandarake, World Shipping, Hobbylink Japan, CD Japan, Play Asia. These are all middleman services I use when I want to get something from Japan. Less so Hobbylink Japan in my case because their pricing for shipping is terrible in comparison to either what Mandarake offers, or just waiting for USA Gundam Store, New Type, Big Bad Toy Store, or Amazon to get it in. But still, you don't have to fucking lie to your friends who you're going to kidnap anyways to get it to you instead of getting one of her fucking maid army to do it, or ask her friends politely to bring some along. I'm betting she didn't even fucking reimburse Netto for the cost, cause that's the kind of rich brat she is. And yeah, after the whole party arrives, she somehow got an elevator in the local arcade tricked out to being an intercontinental ballistic missile that for some reason transformed into a robot that rockets Netto, Mayl, Mariko, and the Navis halfway around the world. Like, ignoring how the G-forces should have left the group splattered on the bottom of this fragile metal box, I would say this could be written off because of Yai's house transforming into a giant robot, and the other Kawakuri tricks her family's capable of, due to everything else we've seen already of the ludicrous nature of their stuff. But no, this is entirely new tier of what from them. I'd actually forgotten about this specific bit, as again, she could have just called for an assist instead of kidnapping them under false pretenses. Like, even the group acting appropriately for Yaito being completely out of fucking line doesn't absolve this for me. As well, it's lampshading that reality. Of course there's going to be no consequences for this. Which thus makes the sight gags pulled after to kill time just not work either. Again, import service. Or better yet, find a small-time shop in an Asian district. I'm absolutely certain they'll stock them, as shops like that thrive off of exclusivity. So yeah, if anything, Yaito's gotten worse with her absence, not better. With it taking forever for her to get to the point of the other reason why she called. And it happens to be a repeat of one of the earlier plots of Season 1. The game she had her dad's company make has had its data stolen by a virus despite how established it was that the mansion is like Fort Knox for computer data already. And she needs their help getting the data back before the game ships in the morning. Once again forcing me to ask, has no one printed a master copy or backed up the development data? Because the final product is just one small piece of an entire production line, and if it ships tomorrow, you already need to have physical copies made months in advance. Or if it's available on a digital storefront, that storefront also needs to already have that data on its servers, with it just toggled to not be viewable or purchasable by the public yet. So yeah, this has officially devolved into idiot plot as Yaito gets them to hunt for it with assistance of her maid army and whatever nonsense the episode decides to throw in. Or maybe that was at the hand of the episode's director, Harume Kosaka, since Kosaka, well, they waffle on whether their stuff focuses on fan service, and a few blinking and miss it shots of Yai's maids in this episode certainly qualify for that. Then again, they also worked on Sailor Moon, Cutie Honey F, and Persona 4 the animation, so they have done good stuff both before and after this. So for all I know with all the sight gags, they're taking advantage of the absolute excess of nothing to at least try and be creative with the presentation. But it's not working. And worse, spending so much animating those sight gags basically ate the budget for the animation for the episode, meaning most of the rest that's here is extremely lazy in how it's presented. And I mean still frames, skipped animation, and scene wipe lazy. The virus that took it is eventually found in a cake shop. Again, too far! And by the time those viruses are cleared out, the actual culprit has gotten away, leading to the next destination that all once more seem to be themed around Yaito's obsession with strawberries. However, eventually they just start to catch on that this virus keeps showing up at all of Yaito's favorite places in the region, where they're revealing that the important bit of data that got nabbed is data based on her, as she's the princess of her video game. Because, of course, she is. Like, I'm not judging her for that. A lot of writers put themselves into their works either metaphorically or through a personal XP. But did it have to be one for one? But it gets them to think proactively to ask, where would Yaito be next? With her leading them to her own personal castle. She's 10. And yeah, inside they find a life bit virus that's been corrupted by the data and been acting it out. They summarily kill it with the Evil Cut program advance, showing the princess is the same spoiled brat Yaito is. And with the game's release, that the villains of the game are all based on the very friends she dragged in to save her game's release. Yeah, free tip, never put exact XPs of people in your life into your creative works, especially without their knowledge. It never turns out well, and they can sue you for libel. The wrap-up. We have Stay Gone. To the request that this interpretation of Yaito please stay the hell out of the series. I know she appears more later, but I really wish she wouldn't. This one is a wash for an episode. I've made it no secret that I hate Yaito in this series, and Yaito Concentrate, as episodes like this are referred to, since it's no longer sprinkled across her appearances, helps to showcase why. This is not a good character. Her acts of selfishness are not endearing or purportedly adorable. She kidnaps people she cares about instead of asking them for help in a desperate moment, with them acting as her last-minute saviors for something important to her, and she proceeds to treat them like garbage. If that isn't a metaphor for the wealth class divide, I don't know what is. Comboed with how ridiculously extra and setting-breaking a lot of this is, I can't like her or episodes featuring her. Again, as I'll say with the series, ridiculous things like this are fine after they've been introduced as possible, but the originator's sin that messes with this show is always going to be the originating event, and that one is not. And the biggest problem with Yaito's material is, instead of even trying to stay consistent with what we've seen before, she and the plots around her always try to take that subsequent leap to being even more ridiculous in events following the previous insanity attached to her. Instead of leveling off, it somehow continues to climb further, so there's no end to the peak extra that is the nonsense around her, and not even in ways I feel can be enjoyed.